Hi everybody, this is just going to be a quick video to talk to you about how to read the text in this class and how to get the most out of them. I'm sure that all of you are very good readers, and if you are and you're happy with the way that you are reading this material, great. You don't need to watch this. If you are looking for some new strategies for reading academic text, which is what we read a lot in this class, then this might be a useful way for you to start thinking about reading these texts. The first thing that I would say is that you will need to read it more than once. These are not the kinds of material that you can just skim. So just know that if you are used to skimming and getting information, that will not be a strategy that's very useful for you in this class. So you'll need to devote time to read the material in class and to really think through it and to read it more than once. So that's something to keep in mind. Another good strategy is to actually annotate your text. So I gave chapter 1 because a lot of people are having issues in getting the book, and I started annotating because I've read it many times, but I have a new copy of the book. So I just did a few pages to give room for people, to give you space to annotate yourselves, really, for those who are reading the copy. But just to give you a sense of the different kinds of annotations that I do to help you get a sense of how to do this reading with this particular kinds of material. One way that I do is I underline key, very, very central ideas, but not everything. And so keep that in mind. A lot of people are used to highlighting in their book, and that's all they do. But really, those highlights are not doing you any good if you highlight everything. So you need to read through once to get the basics, right? To get the general sense and really think through it, and then go back and do your highlighting, because then you know what is most central. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But I only highlight or underline what is absolutely either I love the way that they said it, or this is a very central idea, or they're defining something that is key. And I know that because I've read it before. So that's something to keep in mind. Do not highlight everything. Know what is most important, and then you write that. I also have an annotation like you see in this bottom. See Paul's other work on museums and migrant communities. As you become more experienced readers and you read a lot more about literacies, you'll be able to start making connections. So there's annotations that you'll want to do that connect the readings to each other, connect what you're learning about from each other or from the videos or whatever. So they're connections kinds of annotations. So that's something that to keep track of as you go. I keep track of definitions. So artifact is defined on page 2. So I have that marked, that I know where to go to find out what they mean by the word artifact, right? Because there's going to be lots of ways of defining different things: literacies, literacy, artifact, reading, meaning, those kinds of things. I also have here overall thesis of the book. I know that because I've read the book. So, but just know that you'll want to mark, like, this is their central point, and you'll want to keep track of what the central points are and how they're supporting those points, and just mark them for yourself to keep track. Other kinds of things I put, other kinds of annotations are questions. So why did literacy change? Like, I'm really interested in what that shift is. Here in this page, they're talking about how literacy shifted, how we understand literacies happening has shifted from an ideological model, from a kind of skills model to an ideological model. What does that mean? And so I keep track of that here. Like, I have a question: why did it change? What is happening in the world? And some of this I know. This is a question that you might be asking. I'm kind of putting words in some of your mouths, like, why would you do that? But I ask questions. I also do summary points, bringing together home and school and text making is a central point for them. Here they're defining literacy and linking it to artifacts. So it's not just defining literacy, but linking it to that central point. And then they start to define artifactual literacies as flow across places, multimodal, material, and situated. And so I start making sense of that. At the very bottom of the page, they start talking about literacy. So I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of how, when you're reading these texts, how you can kind of take notes for yourself in different kinds of ways, in definition kinds of ways, in central points, in questions, in making connections between readings. And that's the kind of thing that you really want to work on doing in this class, but also in grad school. I mean, that's part of the taking it to that next level in terms of reading. It isn't just, we're not going to take a test, we don't have quizzes. It really is, can you start making sense across all of the things that you're reading and seeing and doing and talking and really thinking through all of these ideas. Articles will be the same. It's just that articles also tend to have a format. They'll have a lit review, they'll have how they did their study or what they did their study on, they'll have findings usually, and they'll have conclusions. So there you can read through the beginning and the end, the conclusions and how they did it, but then go back through and figure out how they're making their point, who are they citing, who are they in conversation with. Think of citations as people they're in conversation with. So they've read certain kinds of ideas and people, and they're connecting it and making different kinds of moves. So for instance, the transliteracy piece that I gave you for this first week, they say all of these people have said these ideas and this is what we're adding to this conversation. And so and then they go through and they develop that idea fully. And so all of them will do something similar, a similar kind of move. And you keep track of it in your own notes. And you can do this on sticky notes. You can do it in the book, however you want to do it. But just these kinds of texts need a kind of way of making sense of them. And just know you can't just read them. You'll have to really do some work of reading them to really start making these connections for yourself and really thinking through these readings very deeply. And so this is just a quick overview of some ways that you might be able to do that.